Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Plant Fanatics. Today we're going to be talking about my Rosa Plum, so stay tuned. So the Rosa Plum is actually related to the Santa Rosa Plum. However, it's a lot more disease resistant, so it's a great plum to plant if you're looking for a disease resistant variety of plum. It's pretty much resistant to every disease that could go after your plum tree. This plum tree is actually a southern plum. I'm here in zone 7, teetering on zone 6. It's a very, very early flowerer here. I mean, we're in mid-March, and so the chances of us getting another freeze or another couple of freezes is pretty high. So this isn't necessarily something that I would plant if you're looking for something that's a sure thing of getting fruit in a northern planting zone. However, I did plant one of these, and the way that I actually take care of these flowers whenever we're getting a freeze, typically if we get a freeze right now, it's going to be 32 degrees, 30 degrees, somewhere in there, not considered a hard freeze. So what I'll do is I'll come out here with a hose the night before a freeze, and I'll just spray this thing down, and what that will do is basically when water is freezing, it's actually releasing heat, and that heat is enough to protect the leaves and the flowers of these trees. So it's not something that I'm too worried about. Now, if we get a pretty hard freeze getting into the low to mid 20s, the possibility is that I might lose all fruit for that year. So if you're going to plant this in a northern zone, I would say zone 7 or lower, maybe even zone 8, depending on when you get that last frost. This may not be the best tree to plant, but if you just do the things that I just said, spraying it down with water, you increase your chances a lot, and then plus you're going to have good years where you're not going to have those late frosts, and you're going to get a great crop of fruit. You can see all over this thing. I mean, there are hundreds of flowers on this. This is a very young tree, probably only a few years old, and you can see how close I have these trees planted together. If you're worried about space, I always tell people that you can prune trees however you want them to be, whatever size you want them to be. It doesn't matter if it's a standard size tree, a semi-dwarf, or a dwarf tree. I've got some apple trees on this property that are considered dwarf apple trees. They still get pretty large. It doesn't matter if it's what they say the tree is going to get to. You're probably going to have to do pruning. On the standard size trees, you're just going to have to do a little more pruning. This tree will probably only get 12 to 15 feet tall if I left it to its own devices, but what I'll do is after the fruit has ripened, I'll come out here after I pick all the fruit, and I'll prune the tree however I want it to prune early enough in the summer that I can get some new growth going, because these flowers are going to come on last year's growth. So it's very important that you get some new growth. If you're pruning these things, you want that new growth to come out so that you'll have flowers and fruit the next year. That's very, very important. If you just come out here and prune and it's almost winter and you chop this thing back, you're going to cut off all your flowers for next year. You're not going to get any fruit. So that's very important, but you can keep these trees small. Timing is very important. I have another video where I'm going to talk about how to prune these trees in order to not ruin next year's crop, but still keep them small. If you're going to plant your trees like this, maybe you don't have a lot of space. There are ways of dealing with that. However, if you have space, you can just throw it out in the yard and let it grow however you want. I always recommend pruning still to keep the tree's shape going. But this is a great tree for pollinators early in the season, especially here when there's not very many things flowering. There's a few weeds out in the grass, but most people in a typical neighborhood, they're just going to start mowing their grass. So what are the bees going to go to? They love this thing. I've already seen a bunch of bees on this. So to have those early flowering trees is very important for the pollinators. And what I've found is that after you plant a few fruit trees, fruit bushes, flowering plants like your tulips and your crocuses, as the pollinators learn that those are here, they're going to come and they're going to start being here every year after that. So it's not weird for me to see pollinators all over this thing anymore, because they've learned that this is where they need to go. They're probably building their homes pretty close to here. So the fruit on this is going to ripen in June. So like I said, it's a very early flowering, very early season plum. And right behind here, I have a damson plum. This one hasn't even started beginning to bud out. So this one's a much better one. Like I said, early one, not great for northern zones, especially if you're getting, zone 6, even zone 7. I'm in zone 7, I'm taking the chance. But it's a really, really great tasting plum, well worth the time. I'll show you when the fruit are ripe on this. And so stay tuned for updates on this, but really great plum. If you like this content, subscribe to the channel, give this video a like, and share with any of your friends who might be thinking about getting this plum tree. Thanks so much for watching, guys.